Right, well, we're back. We are now experiencing the benefits of streaming on vacation, which means basically streaming when you don't have necessarily the best connection. Maybe somebody, somebody within a 5-mile radius of me got a cell phone call and that completely threw things down the toilet. I don't know. Either way, um, going off of what Mr. Beers was saying in the previous chat, and unfortunately uh, I can't see that anymore because apparently this got put onto another stream. Mr. Beers was talking about so basically eat whatever you want except for simple carbs, lots of protein. You don't need crazy amount of protein, but protein isn't too bad for you. It will strain you a little bit if you eat too much, but it's certainly better to eat too much protein than too much carbs. And then you wind up having good healthy dietary fat. No trans fat, of course. Trans fats are terrible, but saturated fats are good. Non-saturated fats are good. And those sorts of things. Eating once a day is a very good good idea, assuming that you don't have some sort of a pre-existing condition that would make it difficult. Like, for instance, my dad can't do it. He had his gallbladder removed, and so that means that he's constantly having a little drip of bile into his gut. So, unless he wants to have increased mucus production, or for most of the day, and then not enough bile during when he actually eats, he needs to go and have a slightly less healthy eating schedule in order to mitigate that. There are some people that wind up taking insulin on a basis of, okay, you take it so many times a day, regardless of whether you eat, and ultimately I really take issue with those kinds of treatments unless you have 1 diabetes, in which case you take it after you consume your food. But basically, if you're not on exogenous insulin, which, I mean, it could conceivably kill you if you don't take care of yourself. If you're not on exogenous insulin, you're going to be you're pretty much going to be fine. You just be wise, and you have to know the biochemistry. You know the cellular biology, you know the biochemistry, you know the physiology, and you can make the good decisions. And if going through this physiology would be something that you would like me to explicitly do, go take the diagrams from the textbooks, the papers, and for me to just read you the research, I would be completely willing to do that. Although putting together that series could take a while. Speaking of calling sacred cows, that would definitely be doing that, because I would highly recommend eating beef, at least in moderation, and I would be once and for all, hopefully once and for all, I don't want to say it over and over again, calling the cow that fat is bad for you, that somehow fat makes you fat. The predominant honor for that would be fructose. The predominant honor for what makes you really fat, or what makes you really unhealthy, or causes metabolic syndrome and so on. Sucrose, high fructose corn syrup, fructose. And it's interesting because people go and say, oh, fructose, that comes from plants, therefore it's healthy, so we're going to advertise to you sweetened with fructose. Like, just forget the glucose, we're sweetening your stuff with fructose. Like, that sounds natural. And to somebody that doesn't know the physiology, that might sound like a really good idea. Oh, it's from the fruit. It's not bad fruit. Fructose fruit. Oh, fruity fruit. Good, healthy. No. That's non-alcoholic fatty liver disease in a bottle. That's what that's called. So who is here watching? Who is here watching? I'm curious. Hi, Caleb. So it's about 5:24. I think I'll go here for another 35 minutes or so. Maybe a little less than that due to the fact that my wife requires my presence a little later this morning. But in terms of taking care of yourself, going on vacation, and making good decisions, the lion's share of the work is in the things that you don't have to think about. If you don't have to think about these basic things, if you have your clothes laid out for you, if you don't have to think about what you're going to wear, if you have your meals planned out for you, you don't have to think about what you're going to eat. You don't have to deal with as much self-discipline. You don't have to deal with as much on-the-spot thinking. You don't have to deal with as much willpower. You just design your life. You systematize your life to get you to the point where you are in certain periods of time free to do what you need to do, free to think if you want to think, free to relax if you want to relax, free to work, you can paradoxically free up all this by submitting yourself to a schedule, by submitting yourself to a set of habits. If it's as simple as getting up every morning at 3, making your bed, and going on with the rest of your day in accordance with some sort of a morning plan, drinking your water, doing your devotions, doing some studies, getting your coffee, whatever it may be. If you've established yourself a healthy routine and you can keep, and it's sustainable, that's the two things. You need it to be healthy and you need it to be sustainable. You establish for yourself sustainable routines, and then you have blocks of time wherein you can generally do your thinking, and you limit yourself. You're like, okay, I'm not going to just cogitate on this all evening. I'm going to give myself a frame of time where I can think about this. You will automatically gear yourself up to thinking faster because you realize that there's a deadline. It's a way of structuring yourself so that you can put yourself into a particular frame of mind at a particular time for a particular task. It's interesting because my family and we do nighttime devotions, and so at 6:45 we have an alarm number 1. 6:45 means, okay, get your crap cleared away, start putting everything away, get everything ready to go. 6:55 means, okay, whatever you don't have put away, if it's something really, really big, leave it, because in 5 minutes we're going to be starting. Then 6:59, there's a third alarm, which basically means everybody get your butts over here. We're going to do our devotions. And I've noticed that alone, I have in my own life used that strategy quite a bit. Not necessarily with alarms, but just by looking at the clock. It's like, okay, 15 minutes, I have that much time. 5 minutes, I have that much time. Okay, 1 minute, I better be doing. Even getting up in the morning is kind of like that. It's 15 minutes prior to my waking up time. So 2:50. 2:50, I get my alarm. Then 3 o'clock, I get my other alarm. And it's like, okay, in 5 minutes, I'm getting out of bed, or rather, at 3 o'clock, I just start the process of stretching and getting myself ready to go, so that by 3:05 I am out of the bed. And if you need to leave for work at 7, okay, 6:45, coffee cup away, make sure that all of my papers are in order, whatever it may be. I mean, fortunately I haven't gone to work for a while. I've been fortunate enough to be able to have my own schedule, so I don't have to go anywhere. But anyhow, 15 minutes before you have to leave, and then 5 minutes before you have to leave, everything had better be ready and by the door. Then you put your shoes on, put your coat on, you make sure you got your keys, all that other stuff, and then 1 minute before, you're somehow upstairs blowing your nose, and then you have your 1 minute. Okay, I better be leaving. I need to go out the door. Done. That system that allows you to gear up and go into your 15-minute routine before preparing for bed, or your 15-minute routine before leaving the door, it leaves an awful lot less to chance, and it lets, if you go through the same routine, you're less likely to forget your keys, you're less likely to forget your important documents, you're less likely to do that, because the next stage of doing that is, okay, first you decide on a habit, and then after you've decided on said habit, you reflect on it. Like, okay, that worked or that didn't work. And then for the first few weeks you iterate it. And then you get it right in 3 months. And then you can work on another habit. And once you've established maybe 3 or 4 of these habits, so you basically spend a year in establishing habits. And of course you can continue after that. But if you've spent a year establishing 4 really good habits, if you go and figure out what would be the best one habit for you to start, the best other habit for you to start, and so on, and you just go through it, that will mean that you wind up getting an awful lot more done that you would like to do, because you are not going through life aimlessly. Now, school is supposed to teach you habits, but the fact of the matter is, what it winds up ultimately teaching you is marching to the beat of another's drum. And of course, being able to do that, if you consent, is necessary. But if you consent, well, it's not going to be hard anyway. It'll take you a couple of weeks and you'll be done. Having to be at a place at a particular time, on one hand, people can go say, oh, that's oppressive. And I would say, like, yeah, if you're compelling people, but if you're volunteering to do that, then it's pretty simple. You figure out, what time do I need to be in place X? Subtract 15 minutes. Look at your driving time. Add maybe 5 to 10% to that. And that is the time you're walking out the door. Set an alarm for 15, 5, and 1 before that, and stick to it. You're getting out the door, you're getting to your destination well in time, and people will notice that you're at your destination well on time. That also will get you the reputation of being a trustworthy person. And yeah, people might say, oh, well, he's just a stick in the mud, he's sticking to his habits and all the rest of it. Well, look in general at the people that are sticks in the mud as opposed to the people that aren't. I guarantee you're going to see some trends. You may not necessarily, especially if you're a younger person, like what you're seeing, but the fact of the matter is, I've also tended to notice that there are more and more and more young people that are reactionary against the stupidity of their parents. So actually being part of the generation of which I am, and youngers of Generation Z, you are more likely to have your stuff together than any of the previous 2 generations at any given age. And I would say this is predominantly due to you as a whole having been exposed to so much crap that you aren't willing to take it. And for that, I am very thankful. It is really the cycle of strong men produce good times, produce weak men, produce bad times, produce strong men. And I'm not going to say that the West is in any kind of a bad time, because the fact of the matter is we're not starving, but I think that we are realizing that there is something wrong. And in so doing, we are taking appropriate measures because the information is at our fingertips. We can go and see what's been classically done. we can go and get an understanding. I mean, you can go and watch me harp on YouTube about the importance of healthy habits, and you can go and read pretty much any book that you could want that's been written in history, that's been recorded and archived. I mean, you have everything at your fingertips, and if you utilize it appropriately, you will be making good decisions. You will be having a good life, and I'm just going to be thankful if I can even be a small part on it. It's actually quite a joy to be able to see that sort of a thing occurring. Well, that was tasty. So another thing that I started doing on vacation again was drinking milk in my coffee. I've been drinking it black for a while. Not that there's anything wrong with black coffee actually tastes amazing. And if I may make a suggestion, first and foremost, coffee from a French press is orders of magnitude better than coffee going through a filter. Secondly, if you want to be able to enjoy the flavor of the coffee, add a pinch of salt. Add a pinch of salt to the French press, before you pour the water, and you put the coffee grounds in the French press. A pinch of salt, water, and let it sit for a while. Plunge her down, pour your cup. The salt makes a huge difference, and I'm assuming it has predominantly to do with the chemoreceptors on the tongue, that you wind up getting a particular set of electrical stimuli coming from all of them, and that entire it's entirely up here. When we go up to the head, I'm not entirely certain too much about the exact mechanism by which we discern taste, but I'm assuming it's the same mechanism that causes salt to make food taste good, period. Now, obviously, you don't want to make salty coffee, but just having enough salt to be able to stimulate the chemoreceptor for sodium and so on, that could be, or the ion chemoreceptors rather, on the tongue, can be good for making your coffee taste good. I haven't tried it with tea, and that could actually be something worth giving a shot to, especially if your tea is just a little bit on the bitter side. You can go and wind up changing which receptors wind up getting stimulated, so that you might actually be able to enjoy it a little more. I'm not entirely certain of that, but I would hypothesize that could work. So for those of you who are tea drinkers, it might be worth it to take a pinch of salt and put it into your tea. It does an awful lot more for the flavor than does sugar. I mean, sugar just goes and makes something sweet. And of course people like sweet. Sweet tastes good. But if you're talking actually, flavor palette and so on, salt might be worth it. I'll leave the link to Caleb's YouTube channel here. If you haven't subscribed to me, it'd be very nice if you would. And if you haven't subscribed to him, I'm going to give him a shout out and say that, yes, please do subscribe to him. He is predominantly focused. Now, of course, he's been branching out, doing different things here and there, but he's been predominantly focused on philosophy. And when I say philosophy, I mean he actually does philosophy right. He is very much, I don't know if saying against modernism per se is the best way of putting it, but he recognizes many of the fallacies of modern philosophy and winds up going and pining for better philosophy, pining for better times, pining for better paradigms, and does a good job of articulating why modernism is inadequate for us. And so he's one of the most intelligent YouTubers you will find. He's definitely one of the best at what he does, and I highly recommend going and just looking through his videos. You can actually see quite a bit of his of how he's evolved as a YouTuber, and I would say that he's in a very good spot right now. So if you happen to have your eyes on this video, I would highly suggest that you put your eyes onto his channel, because you will likely benefit. Currently, he's doing a series on the critique of pure reason by Immanuel Kant, and the critique is, it's either going to be a book you just breeze through and have an easy time with, or it's going to be one that you struggle with it precept by precept. I both have an easy time understanding it and struggle with it precept by precept, because Immanuel Kant, he drives me insane in the same way that certain friends drive me insane. That there's a particular way that he goes about talking, and a particular way he goes about exploring, and a particular way he goes about giving a discourse on a subject that I find to be a little bit not to my taste. But the fact of the matter is, his content is pretty good, and I would put him up there as one of the best philosophers of all history. 96% of philosophers are garbage. 4% of philosophers are, good and wind up getting a lion's share of the views. I mean, Kant is up there with Aristotle. He's up there with Plato. He's up there with, I can't think of too many. I can't think of too many other philosophers that deserve as I'll also take a look. I'm trying to think if there are any. I mean, Nietzsche maybe deserves some. Nietzsche maybe deserves some love. Euclid, Plato. Okay. Let's see. We have Marcus Aurelius. Okay, Marcus Aurelius. He deserves some. He deserves some love. Augustine. He deserves some love. Albert the Great. He deserves some love. Aquinas is kind of funny. I can't stand Erasmus. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Francis Bacon, Descartes, Cavendish, Spinoza. Oh boy, here we go. Yeah, it's interesting. Okay, so here we have Kant. And this is interesting. This list is by no means comprehensive. Okay, so, but yeah, I would put him in the same general group as Plato and Aristotle. And there was this one moral philosopher whose work I liked, whose name starts with an L that I can't think of right now because I'm... It's not Locke, it's, I'm pretty sure the dude was Catholic. See you, Caleb. Certain friends from Argentina and Ohio. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Well, anyhow, it seems like things are winding down. This has been a little bit of a difficult stream due to the fact that the connection has been a problem, but, I'm going to thank you all who have both watched it live and who are watching it as a video later. I'm going to thank you very much for joining in, and talk to you next time. We're going to be meeting at the same time. Hopefully I can get my coffee. I actually know how to make it over here now, so I'll be able to 4 in the morning my time, 9 in the morning, or 9 in the evening Eastern time. Be ready to have a chat tomorrow.